Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome ex-WCW, former NWO, former WWE / WWF, and TNA wrestler, Buff Bagwell.
What's up? What's up?
What's up with it, man? Hey, tell everybody where they can find you on the social media platform, man.
Bro, I'm easy, man. It's everything's Marcus Buff Bagwell. If you go to Marcus Buff Bagwell.com, that'll take you to my website. When you go to my website, that takes you to all my Instagram, Facebook, all my social media stuff, Twitter, everything. But pretty much everything's Marcus Buff Bagwell, but they're just still, if you go there, like for example, Twitter, Marcus Buff Bagwell was too many letters. So that had to be Mark Buff Bagwell. So they had to change that up. So long story short, just always go to Marcus Buff Bagwell, and that's my main website, and that takes you everywhere you want to go to find Buff Daddy.
All right, that sounds good. But let me ask you like a question, man. What inspired you to do professional wrestling? It's kind of an interesting story how you would put it into.
What inspired me was money. There's two different kind of wrestlers. The two different kind of wrestlers are the kind of wrestlers that are that dressed up at Halloween like wrestlers. And this is not dogging that kind of person. I'm not dogging. I got several friends that did that and became huge stars. But there's just two different kind of wrestlers. There was the wrestlers that kids were actually truthfully wrestling fans. And then there were people that wanted to get in this business because it was a business and to make money. And that's simple. And that's the only two kinds there is. And the problem with that is it gets personal because the guys that dressed up and slept in their car and got paid $10 a match, and those guys were pissed off at guys like me that had a good body, could actually wrestle, was actually good at it, and got in quicker. And it pissed them off at guys like me. And the guys that, really paid their dues and set the rings up and all that shit. And don't get me wrong, I had to do the same thing for about a year. But I got in about a year. From day one of starting to me being on TV and being the TV champion for North Georgia Wrestling as Fabian. That was my very first character, was the Fabulous Fabian. It took me about a year. And that's a real quick time in this business, bro. It's real quick because it's very hard to get into. It's very tough to get into. This business is tough. It's hard. It's political. You got to know somebody, and my person was Missy Hyatt. That's who got me in the business. And she saw me at the pool one day at the apartment complex we lived in. And she, asked to meet me. And she was like, God, why don't you be a wrestler, And then she found out I was married. And so we had a laugh about that. And, my wife and her became good friends. And she kind of helped me get into the world of pro wrestling and really helped me out tremendously. Missy was great at telling me what was coming. Meaning, for starters, the first thing that was coming was my looks. She knew from being in the business her whole life that I was going to be hated from day one. I mean, as soon as I walked in the door, I was going to be hated because I was young, I was good looking, and whoopsie daisy, I could wrestle. So that really pissed everybody off. So I had to sit back, bite my tongue, yes, sir, no, sir, shake everybody's hands, be nice to everybody. And the bad part that they weren't expecting is this was my upbringing anyway. My upbringing anyway was to be nice to people, well-mannered, or you got your ass whipped. I was a Southern boy, they got your ass whipped if you didn't, do the right thing. So it wasn't any problem for me to walk in and be nice because I was a nice guy. And, of course I got judged, from the way I looked instantly, from, every good looking guy gets the fag thing. So I had the fag run. He's a fag. He's a pretty boy. He's a fag. I had that run, and then you get the oh guy. Well, he's he's a fag in the office, and I'm like, I cut that one off real quick. I go, let me ask y'all a question. I go, if I'm a fag and I'm sucking dick to make it in this business, I said, I'm obviously sucking the wrong dick. I said, because y'all ain't seen me win a fucking match in months. I said, this one I used to get beat every fucking Saturday night. And so, that shut that part up. But it just, looks just, I hate it. It just comes with the territory. And at the same time, there's just nothing you can do about it. And you just try to accept the inevitable. I mean, it is what it is. You got a young, good looking guy that's in shape that can wrestle, of course. Well, he can't wrestle. He's no good. He just got here because he's the way his looks. And it's just the haters and just the typical politics of wrestling, same old same. But I got in this business to make money. Then after that, I learned to respect it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you started off. Some people would just kind of be jealous of what got you to be where you're at. Like, you started off just like everybody else, but they gave you opportunities. You had to find connections. Missy Hyatt gave you the door, and you took advantage of the opportunity. So that's what gives people the chances. You got to have the connections. So you got in the business and you worked your way up there. So what was that? What was it like working in WCW? What was like the atmosphere like when you were working towards the locker room or behind the scenes? What happened?
Oh God, it was brutal. Every single shower I took at center stage, Steve Austin dumped a bucket of ice water on my head. And I mean, for 5 years, he did it. I ain't shitting you. It was nonstop. And every single time he did it, when I come out of the bathroom, when I come out of the bathroom, they're expecting to see who the hell, I'm flipped and snapped and all that. And what they saw come out of the bathroom was, and not a word, dude, not a fucking word came out of my mouth. And that's the worst thing you can do in this business is sell it. Don't ever, ever, ever sell it. I don't give a fuck if they slice your mother's fucking throat. You just don't fucking sell it. And if you don't sell it, it'll go away. And if you ride it long enough, you'll finally win them over. And that's what happened with me. Was I was known as the big prima donna, but then the guys at clubs over the next few years of the very, like 91, 92, they got the entire company got to see me knock out like 2 or 3 guys at bars. And so then all of a sudden it was like, hey man, you may not want to fuck with Bagwell. Bagwell just may knock your fucking ass out. And when you got that kind of reputation along with a prima donna, it kind of works. If you're a prima donna that's a pussy and you're just a kiss ass and all that, you ain't never going to make it in this business. But if you're a prima donna that just might knock somebody's fucking teeth down their fucking throat, you just get respected a little bit differently. And I'm talking about, but I'm talking about knocking guys out cold and in front of the entire company, at bars. And so, that helped a lot, believe it or not. I mean, as sick and sad as that sounds, that really did help. It helped me a lot to have. It wasn't like I went and picked on this guy to come up and mess with me for me to knock him out. It just happened. But when it did, people started saying, "Damn, man, I just, but you may want to watch your mouth when you talk to Bagwell. He may knock you fucking ass out." So things changed, and I got accepted real quick by the Nasty Boys because they were badasses, and guys like Sid Vicious would ask me, "How'd you knock him out?" And I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I mean, like, how did you do it?" And I go, "Well, Sid, you don't plan on knocking somebody out. I said, you just fucking throw your best punch and you just aim for a good spot, and you do." And, I just got lucky and knocked the guy out. It wasn't no big deal, really. It's just, guys were just intrigued by that. They were just so blown away by it. Some guys were. And guys you wouldn't think, like Sid Vicious, 6'9", 290, rip your head off. And you would think, but he was so enamored by me knocking a guy out. So it just changed things a lot. And I didn't use it and be cocky about it. I just let it be what it was. And it was what it was, it gave me respect, and it gave people something to think about before they fucked with me, because they may get knocked out.
Yeah, it must have been like really tough, but then you earned your respect, and you kind of got people's attention in a good way, like the way you were doing it. But what got you to get some of those opportunities? What was it like working for somebody like Jim Hart or Eric Bischoff? Like, did they had any other plans when you were before you started off the NWO? Before?
I never had her. I was never with Hart. Hart was there about the same time I was hired, but I don't never remember even talking to Jim Hart. So he must have been gone like almost the same time I came in, because I just don't remember really being around him. But Bischoff, me and Bischoff hit it off great. But you got to realize, Bischoff was my 5th boss. I survived 4 bosses before Bischoff. It was Dusty who hired me, and then it was like I think Kevin Sullivan, and then I think Flair had a run at it, and then Cowboy Bill Watts, and then it was Bischoff.
You got any Cowboy Bill Watts stories?
Oh, God, dude. He hated my fucking guts. The only reason I wasn't fired before Eric Bischoff was me and Cowboy Bill Watts' son were great friends, Eric. I mean, great, great, great friends. So we just because we were friends, his dad held on to me, kept me, you know. I mean, not to mention, he ain't gonna just keep a nobody. I mean, I was good. I was ratings. I was a good-looking kid. I could work. I did everything I was told. I was well-mannered. I was well-spoken. I was nice. I was my gym etiquette, my locker room etiquette was excellent. I got along with everybody. I was easy to get along with, and I rode with all the top guys. All the top guys liked me first, and the rest of the top guys were like, "Why are you riding with Bagwell? You know, well, he's a fucking fag. He's this, he's that." And Sting was like, "Man, you don't know how cool Bagwell is, man. Bagwell's cool as shit." You know, and so Sting would take up for me, and you know, and all that. So finally, people saw that side of me, but for some reason, it was through the value of me being a badass. And not saying I'm a badass, but I will knock you out if you fuck with me. And it just came through that. For some reason, it came through that venue. Is how my getting over got through the system.
Oh yeah, definitely. So when I seen how you started off, man, like what got you working with Scott Steiner? That was he kind of transformed into like being that kind of a like that amateur wrestling background into being specimen. But between you got the more physique compared to him. I mean, what was it like working with him as a team before you guys were rivals at that point?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean. I don't take, like, you know, I'm not going to say it's because of me, Scott Steiner is who he is. Scott Steiner is who he is because he's Big Papa Pump. He's a freak. He looks absolutely incredible. He's got the best body in the business. He's a great interviewer. But the Scotty that a lot of guys didn't know was, for a long time, Scotty had a hard time cutting interviews and stuff. And I really feel friend to friend, and I hope if he hears this, you know, you don't take this. I know he won't take it wrong, but friend to friend, I really felt like I helped us together help bring him out a little more, you know, because I was so off the fucking top. I was so off the chain that it allowed him to come out of his box too, you know, and together we were just it was just a madhouse, you know. So it was really, really cool. And but how that happened was, believe it or not, the big push was going to be me and Norton, and it was going to be Vicious and Delicious, and with me and Norton, and I broke my neck in a Vicious and Delicious match. It was Vicious and Delicious, Scott Norton and me versus Rick Steiner and Lex Luger, and I broke my neck in that match. And so I was out for 10 months after breaking my neck and was off TV for 3. Well, I was on TV, which means I was back on TV in 3. So, you know, doing interview stuff, you know, and they decided to put me with Scotty. And that's where me and Scotty got put together because Norton was in Japan. And so Vicious and Delicious, unfortunately, was gone. And Big Papa Pump and Scott and Bagwell they were kind of introduced, and it worked, you know. But we'd come up with some of the craziest shit, you know, things that nobody would think of and things that people were scared of to do. We wasn't. And we would do it like burn a fucking, you know, Mark McGuire jersey and make fun of him taking steroids and we just go where we just went where you wasn't supposed to go. And that's exactly what we aimed for. We aimed for going where you wasn't supposed to go. And that's what we shot for. And we got overdoing it.
Yeah, that's like you guys were definitely had some good duel together. Like, I mean, yeah, you did have a tag team with the Vicious Felicious with Scott Norton. You guys were a parable tag team, but you've actually only like won 5 WCW titles, right? Because I mean,
Actually, it's 6 with 5 guys.
Okay. Can you explain to me how many titles you won separately? Because I know you won it with different partners.
Yeah, how it went down was it went one. First one was Scorpio. The second one was Stars and Stripes, and we won it twice. That's the 6 and the 5. That's where the 6 and the 5 happens. But 2 times with Dell. And then I had, let's see, 2 times with Dell. And then I had 1 with Steiner. And then, no, not Steiner. 1 with Scotty Riggs was 4. Scotty Riggs was 4. And then Shane Douglas was 5, and Lex Luger. I mean, Shane Douglas was 6, but Lex Luger was 5. Me and Shane Douglas were world tag team champions for about 3 days before the company went out of business. I got a picture of me and Shane. I don't remember being world champions with Shane. I swear to God, I don't. I don't remember it. But I got a picture of me and Shane with our tag belts on, holding Jeff Jarrett on our shoulder, and he's got the world belt in his hand. And we all 3 signed it. And it's a great picture, but it's on my website. If you go to my website, MarcusBuffBagwell.com, if you go to that website, you can see it, and it's for sale. But it's a real cool picture. And but I didn't even know I had them. So that's the 6. And the reason why it's 6 and 5 is because I did it twice with Dell.
Okay, so like throughout your career, why weren't you getting much of a single push? Like, you had the personality, you could have been at least the world television champion, the United States champion, or maybe even for world title. I mean,
think about it, bro. I wasn't even the fucking TV champion.
That's the sad part.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't know. That's just something you got to ask them. I really think, to be honest with you, to be flat out, straight up honest with you, I don't think they would ever say this. But, dude, look back at some matches of mine. I'm a great tag team wrestler. I really am. And what you don't know, and a lot of guys don't know, is a lot, at least half, if not more, of every match, not really necessarily with the top guys, but even with them, I had a lot to say so because they believed in me because I came up with good stuff. So with your undercard guys, I mean, I called the whole fucking match. I mean, everything I said, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't cocky or ugly about it or mean about it. I was just like, hey guys, what about this? Are you comfortable doing this? And what about you guys start? Then we'll do a little something, and then and then we'll get a little bit of heat, and then we'll get a hot tag, and then I'll make the comeback, and then we'll do the double drop kick. 1, 2, 3, we win. Or whatever our finish was. And and nobody ever had anything to say. They were like, that sounds great to me, because really there wasn't nothing no better. I was really good at coming up and having a vision of seeing the Nasty Boys versus Too Cold and Bagwell and Missy Hyatt and Teddy Long being the managers. I just had vision. I had a good vision of it and was able to. And my wind wasn't great in the ring ever. It never was. And I mean, I had good wind, but not great. But when you got a tag team partner, bro, and you can tag out and come in wide ass open, it just makes it a whole lot more fun and a whole lot better. So I had that going for me too a little bit, but for some reason, man, I just couldn't shake that tag thing, man. I was the perfect perfect tag team guy. And I mean, think about it, bro. There is nobody, and I've asked 10,000 podcasts, and I'm going to ask this one, making it 10,001. Go out right now, anybody listening and looking, and I guarantee you're going to come up empty. But there is nobody that has got 6 world tag team titles with 5 different partners. Nobody. Now, did I get any respect for that at all? No. Did I get any trophy for that? No. But let me tell you what that means. Did Lex Luger wrestle like Scotty Riggs?
I think he wrestled like in a match, but I think they had chemistry in the ring. But you guys were
saying, how much did Riggs and Luger act alike and walk alike and wrestle alike?
There's just a far difference. Luger was just an athlete and but Norton was just a beast. There was a difference.
No, I said Riggs. Okay, now go Norton and Luger.
Oh, Norton he just seemed like he was just
different characters, right?
Yeah, 2 different characters. The other guy was a prima donna, but bulky.
Look at Scotty Riggs and 2 Cold Scorpio.
Yeah, they're quite different people. Like 2 Cold Scorpio is just a really chill personality guy, but he can wrestle too. Doesn't get much credit.
Oh God, he's incredible. He's one of the best. But my point of that is, so who had to change to make it work?
Them, because you had a different personality. Yeah, you.
I had to change. So, which made me, and I'm glad, because it made me a better wrestler. I had to change for the big man. I was the little man always, and I was always the one that did all the flip-flopping and flying and all the best. You know, I was a big boy too. I mean, I was 250, but still, I'm wrestling guys that are, my tag team partners are 300 plus. So I was the little guy that set the match up and got the mat, got the heat, and got the tag and all that stuff. And so it just worked out that way. It just seemed like, I don't know, man. It just seemed destined for me to be a fucking tag team wrestler. And I did have that run in a singles, but I also can't lie. I was more comfortable in a tag match. I was just more comfortable. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it came through that way. I mean, it's pretty simple being more comfortable because it's all I did. But that make it more comfortable, obviously. But still, it's all I did. I mean, all I did was tag. So, of course, you're going to be more comfortable tagging when, instead of doing singles, if you're used to doing that more. So I would, I got good at doing that, and I just decided just to get the best at whatever they gave me. And that ended up being, like I said, I wish they could be. I mean, there should be some kind of reward or some kind of trophy for that, bro. But there just isn't. But I mean, it's a pretty big deal to be 6-time world tag team champion with 5 different partners. Do you have an Alexa?
Nah, I wish. I mean, but I'm pretty sure you're like one of those guys that has like that 5 different tag teams, and then it's not easy because you have to work with different individuals and you have to adjust.
I was just fucking around one night, and I asked Alexa, and she fucking knows. She goes, Marcus Bagwell's the world tag team champion, from WCW, and formerly better known as Marcus Bagwell. He worked for WCW during the 90s and was a tag team champion. Missy Hyde helped him get in the business. I mean, bro, there ain't many people fucking on Alexa. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you left a dent if you're fucking on Alexa, and that ain't. I mean, I'm not trying to say that's cool, but that is fucking cool. I mean, if you can be on Alexa, a worldwide machine that's putting this computer base, and you're on it, that's a pretty big fucking deal. And that's about the only trophy I ever got from being 5-time. They say 5-time, but it's actually 6. Because, like I said, that Shane Douglas one was, I mean, literally, hell, it may have been a day. I'm not even sure. It may have been 1 or 2 days. We were world tag team champions for 1 or 2 days. And that's why they don't count that one, I guess. But it's actually, you just heard me count the 6 out. And so there, it's 6 and 5 guys. But it just, I had a guy at a live podcast call me out on it. He said, "That's not true." I said, "Whoa." I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Well, what was your name again?" And so he said his name. And he goes, "That's not true. There's somebody else that's done it too." I said, "Well, we'll pull it up and show me." So he pulls it up, and the guy had 5 with 3 or something. And I said, he goes, "That's pretty close." I said, "That ain't fucking close enough." So just guys, just haters, just everybody trying to, act like, who's better than somebody else. And, the bottom line is nobody's done it. I have. You can't fucking take it away from me. It says it right there on the belt 6 times with all my partners, all the companies I work for. 6, not 5, 6 fucking times. And nobody else has got that but me. And even though it's my own personal little reminder of something I've done great in this business and I didn't get rewarded for it, that's fine. But it is a fact. And I did do it.
Yeah. I mean, you put on accomplishments. Sometimes they don't even put it out there. And like you said, you have it, and it would be somebody like yourself. I mean, even a guy like Shane Douglas even put credit into that title. So if he said it, then it's true. But like
I said, the best part of it is, like, if I didn't have a picture of it and somebody told me I was world tag team champions with Shane Douglas, I swear to God to you, I'd say that's not true. But I got a fucking picture of it. I got a picture of it with me wearing the belt, him wearing the belt, Jeff Jarrett holding the belt, and he's on our shoulder. And all you got to do is go to my website to look at the picture. I swear to God, dude. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't believe it. I swear to God, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So he had to be like right there at the very end, man. Right after me and Luger were totally buffed. And we won the belts. That was 5. And then me and Douglas did it right there at 6.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some interviews with Shane Douglas, and he did credit that title too. So it's like, I've seen some of his interviews where he said he's worked with you before as tag teams, and you guys won the title.
Me and Shane had great chemistry. When I first broke in this business, they put us together. And they were going to make us, blonde hair, black hair, 2 young kids, 2 good looking kids. They were going to push us to the roof. And then about a week later, he went to the WWF.
Yeah, he went under the name Dean Douglas or something like that.
Yeah, he was the Dean, like a Dean.
He was buried.
Oh, God, from the get-go.
Yeah, he was a star for ECW, but then he went to WCW, and then you guys were working as a team too. So there's a lot of that chemistry. You guys go way back. But what was it like working with Shane Douglas?
It was great because it was more my age, and we thought the same, and we had, roughly the same abilities as far as being, an athlete, and we just, definitely, had a lot to, work with because we were so much the same with the same age and stuff. And it just, but then again, you can't buy that. You can't be taught that either. We just had chemistry, bro.
Yeah, chemistry works. Like you guys have something like there, and then you and 2 Scorpio were the same. I mean, you and Scott Steiner just had
Scorpio had great chemistry, bro.
Yeah, and then you and Scott Steiner just had the personality. You guys were working well. And Scott Norton and you guys were having that flow. But what got you guys turning heel? Like, that's where you started your debut with Buff Bagwell. What started that?
I think it's a little bit of a mistake on the company's fault. Problem, to be honest with you. Here you got a guy named Marcus Alexander Bagwell that breaks his neck. And you could have brought me back, and I could have been one of the biggest baby faces in the history of time. I mean, I really broke my neck on national live television. And all you had to do was turn me babyface, and I'd have been the biggest babyface in the world. This is during Desert Storm when this happened, when I broke my neck, 98. And there were fighter pilots. I had 10,000 letters, bro, and all of them would make you cry. And my parents still have every one of them. And they this one I read, fighter pilots would touch my picture before going out to fly, to fight. And shit like that, you know. And then I come out, and what do? I turn fucking heel. And my family was so upset about it, they cried. You know, but then again, I was like, Mom, what are you gonna tell Eric Bischoff? No, hey Eric, forget that 500 grand. I don't want to be a bad guy. I said, you do what the fuck they say, you know. I said, plus that, Mom, you know, I said, you got to be a good bad guy to be a good guy, you know, and vice versa. You got to be a good guy to make it a bad guy, you know. And look at Hogan, you know, the biggest baby face in the world ended up being the biggest heel in the world. So the bigger heel you are, the bigger baby face you can make, and the biggest baby face you can make, the bigger heel you can make. So it goes both ways. I just never came out of the heel zone, but I never really was a heel. You know, I was always like, Scott Steiner could slice your throat and the whole building would run out, you know, running for their lives. I could slice your throat and you'd laugh because I'm going to make it funny. I'm going to slice his throat and act like the blood's coming out and, you know, make fun of him and do my skit. And they didn't want me doing that, but that was just fucking me. It was just the way I did it. You know, I was a heel. I could be cocky as a motherfucker. I could be extremely cocky. It was easy to be cocky looking the way I looked, bro, because it was just, you know, look at me, man. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, there wasn't but two people in the entire wrestling business that looked like me and Scotty. And then we were partners. So think about that. Two of the best bodies in the business are partners. So it's just, I mean, what do? Nobody could fucking touch us. We looked incredible. We were in the lead by a long shot, bro. Nobody was even in the same galaxy as us. And of course, you know, the rumors flew with growth and all that. I said, yeah, I ain't never taken that in my fucking life. I said, why take something? Why make your body off something you've never used before and then add something to it? If you've made your body this way, why change it up? You know, so what I did was, man, I leaned on diet so heavy and nobody else would, but me and Luger would. It didn't matter how hungry. It didn't matter how bad we wanted a hamburger. We fucking ate to a T at all times. And no matter how drunk we were, how party we were, how long it had been, we did not miss working out, and we did not cheat.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, this guy's asking for advice about Golden Glove stuff, which is something that wrestlers do, right? Did you ever do stuff like that?
Believe it or not, I was a Georgia Golden Glove State Championship winner, and when I was 12 years old. And actually, if you go back and look at the rule book, if you went back and looked at the rule book in 1982, it went from weight to age. And I wasn't big for my weight, but I was 61-1. and I won the Golden Glove State Championship boxing at my weight. And I can't remember what weight it was, but it wasn't much because I was skinny as a rail. But I had 2 older brothers that knew how to fight. I knew how to fight. I was an athlete. I got trained by a really good training boxing coach and ended up winning the Georgia State boxing thing. And it was in Chattanooga where you won it. And then of all things, a guy, they changed they went from weight to age. And when they went from weight to age, I started getting rattled, bro. I started getting rattled. So I was going to take a year off. That would have been 13. I was going to take a year off and then come back. Well, you got to figure at 13, now you're almost in high school. Now it's time for football, baseball, high school ball, So I just didn't have time to do the boxing thing no more,
Okay. So is there like any advice for him since he's trying to like push for that Golden Glove stuff?
I don't really have any advice, man. I was just young. I mean, you got to realize I fought kids that came out like this, honest to God. I fought kids like that. And I'm over there with a fucking pair of Everlast with my own boots. No kid had, there wasn't no boxing boots made back then. My mom came up with an idea to have skates, roller skates, take the bottoms off with the wheels, put a sole on the bottom, and make them into boxing boots. So I look like Apollo Creed, I mean, my outfit did, but and I came out and was like, jab, 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 and the rest of these kids are coming out going, got their heads turned, and I just sit back and just bam, 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 so it was just really just, I think, maturity. It was just maturity of having 2 older brothers that knew how to fight, and those kids didn't know how to fight. Every once in a while I come across a kid that knew how to fight. But I mean, I really think, I swear to God, I'm not positive, but I think I was like 61-1 with 50 knockouts.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, they call them TKOs, they wasn't a knockout, but
yeah, TKOs.
TKOs, but still nowadays I think they don't say TKO no more. I think they just count them knockouts. But still,
KOs.
Huh?
That's KOs, yeah.
Yeah, so they were TKOs back then, called technical knockouts is what it stood for, and it just meant they stopped the fight. And but man, I was actually in the Marietta Daily Journal write-up they had on me. I was called Killer B. That was my nickname. And there was another kid on my team that was pretty good too. And he was redheaded, and they called him Little Red. And so we were called East Cobb Boxing. And a guy named Bill Crabb taught us. And it was just a really good time in my life and a great part of my life. And I had a great time doing it because I like to fight. I've got several simple assault battery charges on my name and my record, but and it helped me with things like knocking guys out in front of the wrestlers, so it definitely got me somewhere. It was a good thing to put me in.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, like from behind the scenes, you were pretty much a party guy during your wrestling days, right? Like a lot of them. Like,
yeah, dude, we all were, dude. We definitely, me and Luger, we would shave at the building on a house show, just a fucking house show, bro. We would shave that way. When we got back to the hotel, all we had to do is throw our clothes on and go, because that's how much we were going to go out and party. And, we just had a great time, a great run together, and a lot of fun. and just had a great time. Luger's changed his life around now, and he's really got a great walk with the Christian walk, and it's real. It's a real thing. He's got a smile on his face that is so big every time I see him, and it makes me feel so good. It does bother me to see him have to go through what he's had to go through, being the total package Lex Luger at 280 pounds, down to, $160, $150, I don't know, but it just really kills me. You got to remember, bro, I watched the total package Lex Luger on TV as a kid, and all of a sudden I'm in the ring with the total package Lex Luger as World Tag Team Champions. You talk about a ride. You talk about a trip. You can't get no bigger trip than that, bro. I mean, you're watching a guy on TV that you think's God, and the next thing you know, you're training with him and you're the World Tag Team Champion with him. I'm like, what the fuck happened? So it was pretty fucking cool, man.
So it's a dream come true to go with somebody you idolize and you got a chance to. That not everybody can say it. Like, it's like if I was looking up for somebody like a Scott Steiner or somebody like a Macho Man, I had a chance to be in that same shoes as you. That would be something that nobody can take away, So it's
think about it, bro. Think about just think about being in the ring and Macho Man's coming to the ring to wrestle you. Hey, and you're going over and you're winning. I mean, you're talking about weird, bro. You're like, and then the next thing is, I beat Ric Flair, bro. Nobody beats Ric Flair. I'm not trying to sound cool, because you can't sound cool beating Ric Flair. It doesn't matter. So what? Nobody beats Ric Flair. But for whatever reason, they allowed me to beat him. And when I got to the back, Lex Luger, if you remember in the old days, right before me, like in the 80s, right before my 90 run, in the 80s, which I call the old days, I shouldn't say that but I was young, so older days for me. But these guys are still, this is when Lex Luger was, one of the horsemen, and Ric Flair, and every magazine you looked in was Flair and Luger, Flair and Luger, Flair and Luger, Flair and Luger. Well, I came back from that match after beating Flair, and Luger goes, hey, just wanted to thank you. I mean, just wanted to congratulate you. I said, congratulate me. I said, on what? And he said, I want to congratulate you on beating Ric Flair. And I said, well, are you joking? And he goes, no. He said, no, I take it back. He said, I want to congratulate you on something I've never been able to do before. And I went, what are you talking about? He goes, I want to congratulate you on beating Ric Flair. And I went, you've never beaten Ric Flair? To this day, Lex Luger has never beaten Ric Flair. That's how bad they would fuck with him. And just keep him the big guy that everybody beat up, instead of getting him a little bit of push here and there or making the champ here and there, they just made him kind of like the big badass bodybuilder that everybody could beat, not everybody could beat, but that he couldn't beat Flair, So they built him up for Flair, and then Flair would beat him again,
Yeah, Lex Luger was supposed to be like that one guy that was supposed to replace what Hulk Hogan did in WWF at one point, and then he never turned out to be, and then he came back and he became the total package like he was. I mean, he was just a specimen dude. But what was it like before, during the WCW days, you guys were at the peak and you were in the NWO and a lot of stuff was behind the scenes. What was it like working with guys like Kevin Nash and those other guys like Scott Hall and the rest of the guys?
Man, it really, believe it or not, man, it was just like it was like a dream. It was just, I mean, it really was. It was like a dream, bro, because just to be able to be in the ring with all of that talent, all of those great, great guys that were so great at their craft, and you were picked. I think I was number 6 or 7 being picked into the crew. And it just is a big deal, man, and I think I had a big part of a big part of the NWO. I feel like that I played a big part of it, but when you got that much talent, bro, it's hard to to single yourself out. That's why I did stuff like put my name on my shirt, wear do-rags, wear the top hats, fucking make yourself different, How many top hats you seen since mine?
Not many. I mean, there's like some guys that kind of like don't have what you have, the specimen.
Not many.
I mean,
how about none?
None.
Because if there is, they're going to go, hey, man, that's like that Bagwell's guy's hat, They're not going to get over having a hat like that. So
nope.
Nobody's ever going to try it. And if they do, God bless them, because all they're going to do is put me over. And they don't want to do that. It's stupid. So that's why there's never been nobody to come up with the top hat. And it was just something I was trying to do to fill the void of my broken neck. I was trying to throw things out that I could throw out, to keep my name alive during the broken neck era, So, but the top hat really did work, and, putting my face on top. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's a nice one, man. I mean, you had your logo, your sunshades like that. Like I was a little influenced by your style, by the way you were kind of acting all arrogant and cocky.
Oh, dude, fuck! I'd come up and I remember saying, I never wrote down interviews and stuff ever. I just came out and just winged it, And I came up, the camera came up to me one time, and I'll never forget as long as I live, because I just told the truth. And when you tell the truth and you look good, it really is heat, because it's just, you're telling the fucking truth and you're getting, that's just heat. And I said, do you think that I just woke up and looked like this morning? I said, there's a fucking plan to this. I said, there's a plan from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed to look like this. I said, you can't just wake up and look like Buff Bagwell. I said, so anybody out there think you can, good luck, because you're going to have a long road ahead of you, brother. So, just shit like that I'd say, and don't adjust your screen. I do look this good, and just little shit I'd come up with that made sense to me. And it was funny.
Yeah, like the way you've done it. Like, I mean, like, when I saw a lot of what you were in wrestling, I started seeing a little bit of that younger version of Rick Rude, that little arrogant cockiest, bro. Like, I just thought that the way you were playing your role, you were kind of doing exactly like what Rick Rude did. I mean,
that's who I followed my pattern after the most. That's where the Blockbuster came from.
Rick Rude.
If you remember the very first night, I used Rick Rude's neck breaker in the Rude Awakening. I used that against Scotty Riggs to turn on him the night that I joined the NWO. But you had to make it different, cooler. And with finishes, as a wrestler, you've got to be able to do the finish on everybody. In other words, you can't, pick out a finish you can do on Luger, and then, or let's say Rey Mysterio, and then you can't do the move on Lex Luger. You can't have a finish like that. You got to be able to do it to everybody. So coming up with a finish and it being different is really hard. Well, in comes the Blockbuster. We figured out a way, and I wanted the neck breaker in there somehow, some way. But we just came up with it with me flying over the top of you, grabbing your neck, and kind of doing a blockbuster. And now I've been seeing it on WWE, guys using it as high spots, as a high spot. Bobby Roode's used it a couple of times. Seth Rollins, I've seen use it a couple of times. And I think it's great. I wish they'd use it more often, man. I think it's a great move. And
very effective.
Yeah, it's a really good move, and it just looks good. It's done right, and I just happened to take, and then Disco Inferno is who named it. He named it the Blockbuster.
Oh, Disco Inferno, yeah. Speaking of him, like, man, it's like you guys had he had different personality. You guys were just a little different between each other. But what was it like working with Disco Inferno?
Believe it or not, dude, he's really, 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 really good. Disco was a great. Well, for starters, he loved the business. That's number one. He loved it. Number two, by loving it, he became very, very good at it because of loving it. And he just was actually a damn good wrestler. And we all came from the same place. Scotty Riggs, Van Hammer, me, Raven, Disco, Glacier. God, man, it was maybe a few more big names, man, that came from a little company called North Georgia Wrestling. And then we went from there to Global Wrestling, which is where I was the handsome stranger. When I wore the little mask. Did you ever see that character?
Nah, I probably need to look more into it, but
yeah, I didn't think it was that big a deal. And then when I got older, man, everybody, all the old timers were like, you know what, man, that handsome stranger gimmick, we really liked it, I'm like, what? And I thought they were joking, but it was a cool little gimmick, but it was just kind of a long ranger mask kind of thing. And I came out and handed roses out to the ladies, and I was a ladies' man. But it was cool. I had like the tuxedo jacket and all that. And but it worked. It worked good. And we had, as a matter of fact, from that is how I got hired to WCW.
Definitely, man. That's good. So that was like the way you had your career is like you came up with different personality, but did you ever regret going to the WWF, or you felt like in any other way?
No. There was really never a chance or never a opportunity there. It is my downfall. It's my downfall for not going. I think because I didn't have a chance to see. Sting and I are the only two wrestlers out of all the wrestlers you can name, brother. The entire crew. Name every wrestler you want to wrestle. The only two wrestlers that didn't leave the company from beginning to end was me and Sting. And we were at WCW the full ride. And that wasn't by choice. It wasn't by them not coming after us or asking us. It just never happened. We were just WCW people, and we liked our company, and that's the way it was. Well, Vince tried to get me at the end, right toward the end there. He was trying to get me over to his company. Well, I signed my contract in my hospital bed with my broke neck. And I was scared that that Eric wasn't going to give me my contract. I mean, think about it. Well, you don't have to. We're on a handshake deal, a handshake 3-year deal. My contract was up, and he could have easily just said, "Look, Mark, I'm sorry, bro. You got a broke neck. We don't know how you're going to do." And he's like, he called me up one day and he goes, "Hey," he goes, I know you're probably worried about your contract a little bit. I said, "Probably. I said, I'm scared to death. He said, well, in that case, I'll just courier it right to you. This is when couriers were big, before Amazon or those kind of, all that. It was called couriers. And they would curry things to places, your courier. And so all of a sudden, in came my contract into my hospital room, and it was about that thick. I turned to the very back of the contract, made sure the money was right, the dates were right, signed it, gave it back to my mother, and I said, get that back to him ASAP. And the problem with that is I didn't take out all the things that a 7-year WCW guy could have taken out. I already had first class ticketing. I had rent-a-cars. I had hotels. I had everything. I had the full Monty on my paper, on my contract. And but I could have easily taken a lot of the little stuff out that could have loosened me up, but I just didn't think I was going to be going nowhere. Why would you? And why mess with something when a guy's giving you this deal in your hospital bed, out of respect? Well, sure enough, though, that came back to haunt me, because I never was able to, when Vince called me and checked into my contract, he said, man, you have signed a regular fucking contract. He said, I can't touch you with a 20-foot pole. He said, bro, he goes, God dang. He said, just hang in there. He said, just hang in there. He said, and when it comes time, he said, we'll figure something out. He said, but right now, he goes, I can't touch you, and what am I complaining about? I'm making $1 million a year. What am I going to do, bitch? I'm kind of glad, okay, no big deal. Well, when the next contract came up and it was time for me to start looking around, Vince buys the company. And guess whose contract's up in a month?
You.
Right here. So that fucked me. That really fucked me bad. And so that's the only reason why you saw Booker. That's the only reason why you saw Dallas. And so the only reason why you saw any of those guys you saw was their contracts were up. Anybody else you didn't see, their contracts wasn't up, and they were sitting at home getting paid by Vince McMahon, because they had to get paid. He bought the company. So they just sat at home. I could have sat at home and made another $40,000 to $60,000. But I had so much heat because nobody knew me. So instead of everybody at WCW knew me and loved me. They loved old Mark, good old Mark, man. Good old Mark, good old Buff. But nobody knew me at WWF. So I went from everybody knowing me and loving me to trying to get along with a guy named Buff that is supposedly all these problems. So they had to try to get along with Internet Buff. And this other company knows Mark and Buff, but this company did not. So they were trying to get along with Internet Buff, thinking here comes a prick, cocky asshole. And little did they know it was one of the nicest guys in the world was coming in, but still, I'm taking somebody's job away. So it ain't like they're going to be like, hey, come on in, buddy. Good to see you. We're glad you're here to take somebody's job away from us. So, but it was inevitable that I was going to take, well, back up. We thought it was inevitable that I was going to take somebody's job away. And so ended up, it didn't work out that way. And shit happened and lies were told and politics kicked in. And before you know it, it's 25 years later.
Yeah, man. Like a lot of these contracts, all this stuff. It's like, man, you just had a man. Like it's like when you go from somebody you're familiar with, if they know you pretty well, you're very likable. Then you go to something newer, and it's like you go from a new job, they don't know who the hell you are. It's like you have that criticism and all that stuff. But after your post career from WWE, what was it like working in TNA? Because I know you were having like some run-ins with TNA.
TNA was tough. TNA was tough from the get-go because from the get-go I was getting fucked. And from the very, very get-go, they had like they had me doing all their advertising. For example, on the very first TNA, if you went back and did your homework on the very first TNA, I did almost all of the advertisements. I mean, at one day it almost killed me and my wife. We had to make all these live events to plug TNA. And I mean, and they didn't make it easy for us. We barely would make it to this one, and we barely make it to the next one, and we barely make it to the other one. And this is all over Alabama. You know, me going to newscast and doing the weather and, you know, live shots. And this is when it just instantly threw me off and put me in a bad position mentally. And that was, I came back and from doing that, and that night, the very first match was a 20-man battle royal. And I was the first one thrown out. And I was like, I went straight to Jeff. And I go, Jeff, let me ask you a fucking question, bro. I go, okay. I said, throw me out before the first match, for first guy. I said, put me 1A and make it be your 1B guy. I don't care. I said, I'd have thrown myself out of the ring. I said, explain to me why you used me to advertise your company and then beat me out of the gate. Why? Why even do it? And they, you know, in this business, they just kind of jumble and jumble talk, and you don't really get no answers, and you just kind of go with it. But the TNA thing, man, I was done. I was flipped. We all were missing WCW, and everybody turned into pillheads, and everybody was partying, and it wasn't just me. It was everybody. But whoever they didn't like, then that was a problem. You know, that was a problem of theirs, you know. And he goes, I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't doing my same regiment when I looked like those two people behind me right there. You know, I looked like that every week, brother. And, you know, I didn't change one thing up, not one thing at all. I wasn't doing one thing different, one thing wrong. And so it just how they took it and how they conceived it was different. So my heat was really with Jeff's daddy. I think it's Jerry Jarrett is his dad's name, I think.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah, he was the one that ran Memphis Wrestling, and then he started running with TNA, like NWA TNA merger at that point, and then his son started running it. Yeah,
that's really who my heat was with. Was mainly him, and but just couldn't shake it, and really never really fit in there with those guys, and I don't know, it just didn't work. It just didn't work out. It just didn't work. And I came back a couple of times after that and did exactly what they asked me to do, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you had your bump and roll experience over there, but what was it like behind the scenes with Vince Russo? I've heard a lot of his matches and the way he scripts matches or whatever he puts behind the scenes. Did he ever like put you over in any other matches, like in any other way?
No, he was kind of against me. I feel like, me and Vince are friends to this day. We're very good friends, but I also feel like we had, problems and heat areas. just because of what he did to all of us. He set us all down and told us all that it was going to be the problem with the company was, the guy that runs it always is the guy that runs the company. He should not run the company and be in the business. And so he said, look, I'm not ever, he got like the top 40 or 50 guys. And I was in that top 40 or 50. And he got the top 40 or 50 guys that set us all down one at a time and said, look, this is the problem, explains the problem about, the guy being on TV too much, the person that runs the company, and that he would never, ever, ever be on television. That was the original plan. Well, if you remember at the very beginning, when he would speak, you couldn't hear, all you could hear is his voice. And the Harris brothers, the two bald-headed twins, they were kind of like his two cronies, his badasses. So he ran the show through his mouth, but they would go deliver the news or whatever, And then that lasted, I'm not even going to guess, but it lasted a while. And then it wasn't long, though, that he was all over the TV. And then I think he was the fucking champion at one stage. I mean, fuck, dude. It's just like, it became like, wait a minute. You said this is the problem, and now you're the fucking heavyweight champion of the world. I mean,
what's even worse is David Arquette was champion too. It's like,
what the fuck? How could David Arquette beat Goldberg and you try to make this real? Following a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, this is so much you can do with this, before people shit on it.
Yeah. So like what Jim Cornette said about like towards Vince Russo, it was nothing but Jerry Springer's type scripts, whatever the way he was doing it. Like it was like ridiculous.
It was rough. And then, God, when they brought both of them back to work together, that was really bad. It was, they brought Eric back, to run the company. And then I guess they didn't like what he was doing either. So then they decided to have them both run it. And then that was a major fucking clusterfuck. So, I don't even know the back doors of that, but it was just, you could just tell by the way everything was happening who was in charge. If you're Lex Lugers, your Buff Bagwells, your Stings, your top guys like that, if those guys were being used, your Flairs, your Lugers, your Goldbergs, if those guys were getting used, then Eric Bischoff was in charge. He was running the show. And if you're Jeff Jarrett's, your Billy Kidman's, your Lucha Libre guys, I don't know. You can just always tell who was running the company. And basically, look at it like this. When WCW guys or NWA, WCW guys were getting run and getting pushed, Eric was running the show. And when it was guys that, were not like that, the guys that, like Jeff Jarrett, they were just a super over guy and, definitely a major main player, but still, when you saw guys like that getting used, it wasn't really TBS, Ric Flair, WCW guys. That's when you could tell Russo was running the show.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, I think there was a lot of favoritism towards Jeff Jarrett with Russo. That's what got him to push.
He loved Jarrett. He loved him. He loved Jarrett.
Yeah. So we'll get into the final conclusion because I know you got a time limit of a few more
Yeah.
minutes.
No, you're
All right.
good.
So for the final conclusion of your wrestling career, how would you ever regret how it ended up being, or you wish you could have had more pushes at your early peak of your
Oh
career?
my God, dude, are you kidding me? Do you realize my career was over at 30? It was over, bro. It was done. My career was over, hanging on the fucking shelf at 30. Now, because thank God, because of my looks and my ability and me being so young, I was still able to make a hell of another 19, 20-year run out of this. I mean, I've been doing this thing for, 35 years now, I think. Let's see, is that right? Let me think. 19, see, that's 2000. I've been doing this about 32 years now. 30, well, maybe 33, but 30, 32 is some change for sure. And that's a long time, bro. It's a long time to be in the business, and to know that your business, you're at your peak, you get fired from your hometown. That's rough, bro. That's as rough as it gets, So, but it is what it is. It happened. I've got a great career that I had. I don't regret anything that happened. I respect and remember everything. It all means the world to me. As I look in my room, I wish I could show it to you. I'm gonna have a little screen where I can show my whole room with everything hanging up, everything, all my stuff that's hung up, all my trophies, and just all my pictures of my house and my action figures and shadow boxes, and my Capital One credit card over here with my face on it. I wish I had a little screen. I may start doing that where I can have a little screen to show people. But it's a cool room. It really is. It just shows my whole career. But I had a great career. It's hard to take back, and there's no way I would not do it again. And I'm glad I had the chance to do it in the first place, and just glad I was able to make an impact in the business and do something that nobody was really able to do. A lot of people weren't able to do this. I was able to do something I wanted to do and get paid for it and make some money at it, So just had a good time and wouldn't take it back for nothing in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I like how you were showing a little of your cave and all that. It's a pretty nice accomplishment. I mean, not many can say it, but like in your early years, I would have thought maybe they could have used you a lot more, but you don't look back at it. You're just grateful to have this opportunity. Like you said, you were getting paid for something, and sometimes it's not an easy task. When you have to do something, when your boss tells you to do something, you got to do it. And you put it in better words. Like, even like how you were explaining to your mother, well, if they're paying me 500 grand to do this, I'm going to do it. And
You're damn right. To give you one last example, I'm going to give you is I was wrestling Raven one night, and I was the heel, which is rare. I was in Ohio, and I was the heel with this real smart, we call them a smart mark crowd. And it was just a real smart mark crowd. And they were all over me, dude. They were all over me. So we decided as the match started that I would turn heel. So I turned heel against Raven and just started doing my heel thing. And because I always my babyface on the road, always. But not here I wasn't. So I'm getting my heat on him, and we get outside and I pull him I can pull his legs out with a post between his legs. And I got his leg, and I'm working his leg on the post, and it gets kind of quiet. And there was a guy in the front row who goes, Buff Bagwell. He wrestles one time at the WWF. And I mean, bro, you could hear fucking crickets. It was like, ooh, like that, you know? And I really, keep in mind, this is all in a matter of seconds, I'm talking. And I'm still working the guy's leg, you know, Raven's leg, and I'm waiting for the ooh to come down so I can say something. But that's all the time you got. If you don't say something after that, you're fucking buried. As soon, and I had no idea what I was going to say, as soon as it died down and got to where you could hear me, I turned to the guy and I said, "That's one more time than you, motherfucker."
Yeah, definitely, man.
And it is. And that's the truth, brother.
That's is the one opportunity.
I was able to get on TV, main event, Monday Night Raw, one more time than that motherfucker.
Yeah, you main event a WCW title match on a WWE Invasion era. And what's the sad part about how that went? You were kind of like aligning yourself with WWE for that time being, and they just threw you out like Stone Cold, and Kurt Angle just threw you out there, man. I remember that segment. Like, it was like 11 years old, man.
Oh, and then they get called and get told we got big plans for you next week, and they fire me in Atlanta. I'm like, what the fuck? This can't be real.
How do you get fired on your first try?
You can't get. I mean, no warning, no. You know, hey, no Bagwell. We don't do this. We don't do that. I mean, don't you at least get a warning if you're Buff Bagwell?
You should.
I mean, I would think, right? I mean, you're Buff Bagwell. You've never been in trouble. You've never gotten in trouble. We're going to ask you this one thing, not to do this. This is not how we do it. We know your jump company's here, and it's got to be kind of hard for you. But you know, just a little bit of something. No, get the fuck out. And I was like, what in the hell? How do you get that kind of heat? And I mean, brother, I had it. I mean, bro, and I even told him, I said, do you realize if y'all just gave me a microphone with the kind of heat I got naturally, how much heat I could have out there for you guys and make y'all money? I said, I can tell in this room, y'all hate my fucking guts. I said, so let me fucking run with it. Let's make some fucking money. And they were like, oh, we're going to bring you back in 3 months. But I knew there wasn't no bringing me back. I knew there wasn't. But I had to play along like there was, you know. So I was like, oh, okay. So I did what they told me to do. They told me to wait 3 months. I waited 3 months and 3 weeks just so they couldn't say anything bad about what I'd done, called too early or whatever. I called up 3 weeks later than I was supposed to, and Jim Ross answered the phone like this. He went, that's how Ross answered the phone. And I went, my exact words were, I went, Jim, I'm just making this call because y'all told me to. I didn't want to do something else that I wasn't supposed to do and get in trouble for it. I said, y'all told me to call you in 3 months. I waited 3 extra weeks. There wouldn't be no heat. And here I am. And he goes, we ain't got no positions. Good luck. See you later.
Man, just like that. That's what happens.
Click.
Yeah. So, yeah, dude, it's kind of an interesting story how it went out, man. But I know Buff's got the time to go, bro. Like you definitely, I appreciate you making up the time for the last week and all that stuff, man.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
I'm sorry to all the fans out there. We couldn't figure it out last week, but I'm not so tech savvy. But that is not so tech savvy, so I couldn't quite pull it off last week. My apologies to everybody, all the fans, but really, really appreciate you having me on your show. And You asked some great questions, and I think it was a hell of a podcast. And just like I said, for me, man, check it out. MarcusBuffBagwell.com is where you reach me. And right now we got a thing going on. It's called
Rebuilding Buff.
Rebuilding Buff, and that's what we're trying to do. And not coming in, not coming in double fisted or have a beer backstage at the podcast, and I'm drinking water and getting ready to go to the gym, and just really, really, really doing the Rebuilding Buff thing, man. And there's a lot of good things coming up this year that I'm very excited about that I can't talk about right now, but there's some positive things coming up. So this ain't the last time you're going to see Buff Bagwell. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, and everybody just remember, I'm Buff, I'm the stuff, and the girls just can't get enough.
All right, see you, bro. That's a good one, man.
That is, baby.